So let's have a little look around InDesign. When I open InDesign, you may get a splash page like this, which basically allows you to go into any project that you were working on previously, or to create a new document. If for any reason you didn't see that, you can still go up to File, New Document. So that would give you exactly the same interface as Create New Document. You would see this. What we've got recent documents and documents for print, and documents for the web, and even documents for mobile phones as well. So we're going to start off by looking at print documents. And when I click print documents, you're going to get some choices. So obviously you've got all of the preset sizes, and then you can create a custom size if you don't find the size that you would like there. And there actually are templates here for you to work with as well. So you can download templates from Adobe, and that's quite a good way to learn what sort of things you might want to work with and how to lay out your images. Now on the right hand side is some properties for your document. So obviously you've got the width and the height, and that will change depending on what type of document you choose. Of course you can go in there and replace it and create a custom document, and you can go up and down in increments. Be careful if you've got one of those touch mice as well, it kind of scrolls around a bit. Just be very, very careful, you're in control. So if you're not sure, just click back onto the document size. You can work in millimeters, centimeters, inches, or all sorts of other things. But for the purposes of where we're going this term, we're really going to stick with millimeters, centimeters, or inches. Now, because you could do multi-page documents, you're allowed to start off with a number of pages. I'm just going to start off with one in this case, but it does mean that you can put a long document together, let's say a 12-page document. You might change your mind later on, and from within the document you can still change the number of pages. So that is okay. InDesign itself will conform the pages. You don't have to worry about the order, you just design them in the order that you would turn a booklet. And it allows you therefore to work in double pages, so facing pages, so you could see how that's actually going to look. And obviously if you were working on a magazine or a book, you might want to control the page numbering as well. So down here you can apply columns, and they're not real, they don't print, but you can use them as a guide to work with. We're going to leave it at a single column for the moment, but a really important part of designing is placing a margin. So you might have been used to pulling in a margin when you're working in Photoshop. Here we can place a margin on the document and decide what that is. This is a very typical 1/4 inch margin, so it would give you a guide all the way around of about 1/4 inch. So I'll just show you that. So here we have that 1/4 inch. That's quite a lot for an A5 document, which is quite a small document. But really, remember, this doesn't print. It's only there to show you where the edge of your main design should go. And so it's just giving you an indication. Of course, you might want to do something very modern, and you might want to have a picture flying off out of the document. You might want colours going to the edges and so on. So you can do that. But what I would say is, if you're going to have any typography, keep your typography within the bounds of the margin, unless you on purpose want to change it. If you have a look at the V&A logo, for instance, on all of their documents, they actually have it cut off. So it's the way that they like to work. Now, I'm going to go back to open a new document. and just have another look at this. So I said it was a 1/4 inch. I know 12.7 is a 1/4 inch, but let's say you decided you wanted it to be 5 millimeters. Well, I could just simply type in 5 millimeters. And because it's locked together to the bottom, the outside and the inside, you'll see it will change everything. You might want a top margin which is a different size, so you can unlock it. Let's make that bigger. Let's put that back up to 12.7, and you can see when I create that document, I've now got a deeper margin up here. So a lot of control over margins right from the start. And let me just show you in InDesign, it's pretty cool. So let's say I wanted a 1/4 inch up here, or let's go back to the 12.7 here, and let's say I wanted 0.25 of an inch. I can just type that in, and it'll work that out for me. So it's put in 1/4 of an inch down here, which is slightly different to 5 millimeters. So want them all to be the same, lock them together and manipulate one margin and all the other margins will follow. You want independent margins, unlock it, and then you can control each side. Now you might have noticed it says inside and outside. So that is the inside, as if you were turning the pages of a book, the inside margin, and it's different for the reverse of a document. And this is always the outside of the document. Now the final thing I want to show you here is bleed and slug. Now slug is just simply an area that I would set aside. If I was working in the print industry, we're working on a magazine, you might put together an area where everybody chats. So I'm chatting to the printer, I want to give instruction to people. So it's a place beyond the document. It doesn't print. We don't really need it. Okay, so I'm going to suggest you ignore the slug. But the bleed, well, remember what I said, if you want to bring in a picture and you want to work with imagery that goes to the edge, you have to think about when the printer prints it, they might ever so slightly misrepresent it on the paper, or when the cutter cuts it, it might accidentally cut it about 1 millimeter short. So therefore you need to have a bleed. You need to have something which extends beyond the document bounds that will allow colour or a photograph to bleed beyond the bounds, and then in the industry they come along and they cut it to size. Now for an A5 document, which is a small document, it could be a 3 millimeter bleed. Again, it's locked together. For an A5 document, I would recommend 3 to 5 millimeter bleed, and those are common in the industry. So you can name your document up here, but you can still name it later on as well. Okay, so I'm going to call this one test. And also you can save it as a document preset if you wanted to, and then you would find it in the saved area. I'm going to suggest let's just make documents one by one for the moment. What I am going to suggest though is that when we make our document, I'm just going to get rid of these. Before you even start, create a folder on the desktop. So I'm going to call this my test folder. Obviously you would name it as per the project or the exercise that you are doing. And then I'm going to create my new document. So I'm making this document called test. And I'm making it an A4 document, 1 page for the moment. Margins 12.7 millimeters, the default margin, but I'm going to add in a bleed. I'm going to add in a 5 millimeter bleed. locked together, so all of the sides will have a bleed. I'm going to create it. So now you can see, in addition to the margin, I also have a bleed line going the whole way around. So any artwork I bring in needs not just to go to the edge of the document, it needs to come out and fill the bleed area as well. And bear in mind, it will be cut, okay, in printing. And therefore, you need to be able to expend that bit of the photograph or the illustration. So bear that in mind when you're working with photographs, you're taking photographs for your work, or you're creating artwork. Bear in mind that you might have to lose a little bit of it in the trimming process. Now, I made this folder over here. There's nothing in it at the moment. I'm going to save this document into it. File, save. I'm going to find the folder. So that's my test folder. And you can see it will automatically save the same as what I put on the preset, but you could do that at this stage anyway. You can name it at this stage or rename it. And we're saving it as an InDesign document. Now, when you're saving in between, if you think you have a different version of InDesign, it's really, really important to save as IDML. So you can save this document, but you might also want to save IDML. So let's say you're saving at home and you know you have the most up-to-date software, whereas at college, we do not have the most up-to-date software. You need to remember to save both, okay? So you can work in your document, save. I'm going to save that in there. And then just before you come into college, say to it, save as, and save it as an IDML, okay? And that is because InDesign is notorious. You might make something in the latest version and bring it in and you can't open it up. So just save an extra version of it as an IDML. And IDML stands for InDesign Markup Language. It's a sort of basic language of InDesign. Now, you'll see in here, not only do I have the document, but I also have this IDLK file. That's InDesign link file. Do not delete that. It will change, it will disappear from time to time, but it will reappear, and it's very, very important. And the reason it's really important is because all of the images I'm going to use, the coding for the linking is going to be in this document. So although you never open it up, you never do anything with it, you mustn't delete it. Okay, it's information. Now, I made a folder for a reason, and that reason is because everything I'm going to put in to my document, I'm going to put into that folder. And then that whole folder is what travels around. So if you're coming into college, bring the whole folder. Everything must be in there. In InDesign, when I bring an image in, and there are many ways to bring the image in, I'm just going to pull it in, first of all. I can, for instance, click, and it's on the document. That photo is now linked through this file into this document. The document does not contain the image. Even though you can see it in the document, it's not really there, okay? So if you then, let's just save this. If I have, for instance, this on my desktop and I drag it in, I can find it, can't find it. If I drag this in, it's fine, we'll be able to see it, no problem at all. But when I take this folder away, the actual image is on the desktop. So you will not be able to see or print this image. You'll just get a question mark where the image is. So it's very important that everything is together in the folder. And just make sure that you don't leave anything or connect anything that's outside